Hi, I'm Joe Roth. At New Jersey Sharing Network, we're committed to saving and enhancing people's lives through organ and tissue donation and informing people about our life-saving mission. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Northward Center, Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Resources, the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, Office of the Attorney General, and by St. Joseph's Health, a passion for healing. It's what's inside us. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer and by NJ Advance Media.
Welcome to State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. We're, in fact, coming to you from the Agnes ROI-NJ TV studio in Newark, New Jersey. It's our honor to introduce for the first time with us Brandon McKoy, president of New Jersey Policy Perspective, which is an organization that does what?
We're a think and do tank that does a lot of policy analysis, particularly around the budget, but also immigration, healthcare, and economic security. And we're in Trenton, and we are providing a lot of analysis on those issues every day and then talking with our partners and legislators.
And you are, in fact, succeeding an iconic figure. Yeah. Gordon McGinnis, a former state senator, former head of public television in New Jersey, who was the head of Policy Perspective. And Gordon's been with us many times. So, Ian, it's interesting. There's so many issues that are going on, so many things going on in Trenton that have national implications. Let's go through some of them. Your organization did a 10-year analysis of New Jersey's 2008 School Funding Reform Act, right? Yeah. We're supposed to move money around, get it where the money needed to go, help urban areas, help communities that have gotten the shaft somehow in state funding. What did you find?
I think we found that mostly the places where you see more funding for different schools and the places where you see less poverty, you see students doing much better. It's kind of, really positive to see that New Jersey is keeping its public education system so highly funded and invested, and that this is a major asset for a state like ours. We only are in second place behind Massachusetts when it comes to public education quality, and a lot of people come to New Jersey for that. And so we want to make sure that the state continues to invest resources in this very important asset.
But did you also look at some suburban communities that have been saying historically they're getting the shaft because a disproportionate amount of money is going to communities like Jersey City, an urban area, one of the original Abbott districts, if I'm not mistaken, in the Abbott court decision going back. But here's the thing. Jersey City is not a poor community across the board and has economic development going on all over the place. And so it's my long-winded question is, did you look at the fact that there's some places like Hoboken and Jersey City doing well, called urban, and some other communities struggling that are suburban, not all that well?
Yeah, and I think this is an argument to fully fund the formula. Right?
What does it mean to fully fund the formula?
So the state, under the Abbott decision, set across the
Abbott
state.
Supreme Court decision
that
every child will, well, the Constitution of 47 said every child will get a thorough and efficient education. Getting there's another story.
Exactly. And so, yes, Jersey City is doing much better than it has in past decades, but it's still a tale of two cities. And you see that with a lot of urban areas is where you might have a really quality school in one part of the city, but then a not so great school in another part of the city. So this report is really talking about that. It's trying to highlight that funding is important.
Yeah, but funding from the state, but respectfully, if there's more real estate development and more property taxes being paid in that community, and property tax is the primary form of funding public schools, doesn't that mean, ergo, that community is getting more money into the schools?
Once the tax rebates go away.
What do you mean?
So we have a lot, you have a lot of people moving into Jersey City who are paying more in property taxes, but a lot of the development you're seeing is the result of a lot of tax rebates that are just now starting to come off the rolls. So,
you mean deals that were cut to get people there, incentives?
Yes, absolutely. So we want to make sure that while that's going to come in at some point, you still need to fund the schools in the meantime.
Interesting stuff. Millionaire's tax. The Governor Murphy has proposed it.
Yes.
Senate President Sweeney said, no way, not going to happen. By the way, we'll have President Sweeney, Jackie next week, Jackie Heyer, our executive producer next week. We'll have the senator in, talk about that. Speaker Coughlin said no way. So if the Speaker of the House and the President and the Senate are saying no way with this millionaire's tax, the governor's saying yes, why are you and your organization saying we need it when, in fact, it's not going through the legislature, clearly?
So, we've heard lots of things not going through the legislature before in the past, and then sometimes we get down to brass tacks and the deal happens. Millionaire's
What are the
tax
advantages
is something. I mean, the millionaire's tax would provide an extra $450 some odd million in revenue a year. It's very reliable. It's very sustainable. But, millionaire's tax is not just about revenue. Obviously, that's a big part of it. That's really important.
I mean, additional revenue that wealthier New Jerseyans would pay into the state coffers.
Right, and again, this is a tax over $1 million, right? If you make up to $1 million, you're not paying this extra, this reduced,
it's over
this
and above.
Increased rate, right? This is over $1 million per year. This is also about tax fairness. Right now in New Jersey, you have a lot of middle-class families who pay more in state and local taxes total than the richest people in the state. And that's not very, very fair. So we want to have a more progressive tax code. We want to make sure that the richest people who have more ability to pay are paying as much as they can.
But Brandon, what happens if a wealthy New Jerseyan says, you know what, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going to Florida. They don't even have an income tax. I'm going to another state with a lower income tax. And then how is it that we expect that revenue to come in if that person leaves, we no longer get that revenue?
And we all have heard that anecdotal story, right? And we all have friends and
that's right.
Parents of friends who have said, I'm out of here, I'm done, this is too much.
Or at least I'm out of here in Florida long enough, 6 months and a day, whatever, to not pay the taxes here. Go ahead.
Florida, North Carolina, the Sun Belt, whatever it may be. The data shows that no matter how much we increase taxes on the wealthy, they're not fleeing. In 1994, we had 6,000 some odd wealthy households, meaning households making over 500,000. Today, we have 65,000. So the only time that the number of wealthy households has dipped has been during recessions, and that is a very big concern. But what it shows us is that people are here in New Jersey because of assets, because of access, and because they can get to a lot of things that are going to help them be successful.
Brandon, let me ask you this. You and your colleagues have done a report looking at how many immigrants own businesses in the state. Talk about that.
So our policy analyst, Erica Nava, did a really groundbreaking report looking at the fact that more than you'd expect, a lot of businesses on Main Street in New Jersey are owned by immigrants. And this is for a lot of reasons, but...
Immigrants who are here legally as well as undocumented?
Mostly, I mean, legally is what we're looking at. We're looking at people who came here, made a life for themselves, and are contributing to the economy in a significant fashion. A lot of the reason that we found for immigrants owning businesses is not just the fact that they're coming to the country, they're trying to make something of their lives here, but also they faced a lot of discrimination in the workplace, so they felt like they had no choice but to start their own business.
Interesting. Last question before I let you go. We're not here to talk politics, and I actually said to Brandon that our show is less about politics and more about public policy. But the public policy debate going on in Washington, if you will, with Democrats, some moving very far to the left, the new Green Deal, tax wealthier Americans, et cetera, versus those who are more moderate Democrats. Is that something you're following?
Oh, absolutely, because it's changing the way that we talk about these issues. And I think that this is a conversation that's dealing with a lot of the challenges that people face on a daily basis. And it's really highlighting how much poverty there is in this country and trying to highlight policies that are actually going to address them once and for all.
Finally, do you do any research on President Trump and his policies as it connects and relates to the people you care about every day?
Oh, yeah, we do a lot of research on immigration, as we talked about, also healthcare.
How's he doing?
A lot of the president's policies are very, very harmful and dangerous and damaging for the people in New Jersey. Attacking the Affordable Care Act was a problem. The family separation at the border is a significant problem. The SALT deduction is very harmful for a lot of middle-class families.
The limitation, $10,000, that's it for local property taxes, state taxes, that's it.
Yes.
Not good.
Not
in
good,
your opinion.
And it's going to have long-term damage for us.
Brandon McKoy, don't let this be the last time. I'll get that out there with us on State of Affairs. You're the president of New Jersey Policy Perspective. We wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is State of Affairs. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back after this.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato, coming to you from Newark, New Jersey, the North Ward Center. We just finished a panel discussion dealing with autism, and you realize as you watch this program, we're talking about a different way of thinking about autism. We're honored to be joined by a member of the state legislature who's been dealing with, thinking about autism for a long time, Assemblywoman Valerie Vanieri Huttle, who's Deputy Speaker of the General Assembly, a leader in this initiative. Biggest takeaway for you from the panel discussion we just had on autism was?
Great discussion. I think we left out a couple of things that, if I may, just talk about. We talked about research. We talked about support services. But we left out the protection of those kids with autism from abuse and neglect. Several bills have been passed and signed into law to make sure— In the state legislature? Yes, to make sure that the caregivers, don't forget, many caregivers, low wages. We need to raise those wages and have the professional people there that are trained properly in autism or with students or children or post-21 adults with autism. We need to make sure that the parents know what's going on if they're in the group homes, if they're in centers, if they're in day programs. So I think it was a great discussion. We had great advocates, but we need to talk about a few of the bad actors as well. And we need to protect them. A few of the bad actors. Many times, and what I've heard, children have come home with bruises and there's physical abuse. And by the way, I want to make it clear, if you don't know this about the Assemblywoman, when it comes to the issue of bullying, a leader in the legislature on this issue as well. Is it connected? It certainly is. How so? Especially when you have the high spectrum or the high, I hate to use the word functioning, there should be a better word, but when you have people with abilities that are able to be included in the community, there's certainly, as we talked about a little bit about a stigma, and those kids tend to be bullied, obviously. And so I think we need to remove the stigma. I think education needs to not only go to the parents and the immediate people that are involved, but the entire community. And that also teacher training, counselor training. I hate to say it takes a village, but it really does. And I think everyone needs to understand and be aware that people with autism, whether they are low functioning, high functioning, independent, dependent, they all have a special asset, is what we actually heard in this discussion. The other thing you said, Assemblywoman, that I would like you to expand upon, is that there's no D, no Democrat, no R, no Republican label connected to those who seem to care deeply about those dealing with autism, not just someone diagnosed, but his or her family member. Is that true? Is it bipartisan? I believe it has to be. I believe that there should not be politics when it comes to people with special needs that need support services. The only challenges, obviously, is the funding. We have to prioritize that. And I think that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, 1 in 34 people have autism. Every one of us. The highest rate in the nation. Highest rate, because we diagnose properly, I assume, and I hope that we have the Commissioner of Health, Dr. Ellen Hall, talked about that as well. We diagnose better than most. At a higher rate, let's just say that. And I believe that's why the incidence here is higher. We have 1 in 34, which is. What about public attitudes, though? I think we are getting better. And that's why I think when you have people that where's that person became the first attorney, right? Yeah, we're talking about this, when you check out the 2.5 hours. What was her name? There's a young woman, Hallie Moss, Florida. I think she's only mid-20s. First lawyer openly, if you will, person with autism. That's a role model. And that's also a symbol of erasing the stigma that, you know what? You can achieve things in your own time, in your own time frame, and on your own level. For example, there are supermarkets. When I go to my supermarket, the grocery baggers, there are people from the ARC program, from the day program, and they're out bagging my groceries. It gives them a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and they're important people in the community. Absolutely. You go to restaurants, you ever see sometimes, I know one restaurant I go to, they have some of these students from the day program just folding napkins. So, whether it's a small task, whether it's going to law school, one size, as we mentioned, doesn't fit all, and everyone has their own special abilities. Sorry for interrupting someone. That is, in fact, a different way of thinking. That was what
one of the things that struck me in our panel discussion was that thinking, quote unquote, one size fits all when it comes to dealing with autism doesn't work.
No. I had, and I think we mentioned this before, I had a person that was born with infantile autism. The mother thought that he would never be able to even go through school. He went through public schools, and I think he's probably 30 now, and he worked in my office as an intern, as a special coordinator.
And your legislative staff?
Yes, outreach, an outreach coordinator to the community with special needs. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's smarter than many of us. And just to give him the opportunity, to give him, a task to do, whether it's climate change, the information that he came back with was amazing.
The research.
It's just giving people an opportunity to give them that sense that they can accomplish anything that they think they can. We have to give them that opportunity.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. How many of your colleagues do you think you know in the Senate and or the General Assembly know that you had someone on your staff who who's dealing with certain challenges but has certain clearly very special skills?
I think most of them knew because he had his own business card and he would go downtown and stand, go to Starbucks and pass out the business card. I got a lot of calls. But no, I think most people knew. And actually somebody just called me and said, can you use this intern? Can you use this young person who has a disability?
Right.
He's on the spectrum. Can you use him in your office once a week? Of course I could. We'll find something to do for him.
I said I would let you go, but I want to press on this. Federal legislation, Senator Robert Menendez, leader in this effort. Talk about it real quick.
Yeah, well, he is proposing legislation to create funding on a federal level that would help in the education and awareness aspect of autism. And I think that speaks volumes because he's a champion. He's always been a champion. And he's trying to do, or he is doing, the same thing we are doing in New Jersey on a federal level.
Are we hoping that the bipartisanship that you refer to in the state house in New Jersey would replicate itself in Washington?
On this issue, I hope it will.
And the president, you believe, is just as committed?
I would hope that he would be.
This is not a partisan issue.
Yeah, I would hope that he would be on board.
Senator, thank you, not just for joining us once again for this discussion, but for always participating in public television conversations about important issues.
It's important we get the message out. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Yeah.
To see more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at stateofaffairsnj.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
State of Affairs is pleased to welcome Tom Bergeron, editor, Chief Content Officer, ROI-NJ. Tom, thanks for joining us. By the way, we have a cross-promotional partnership with your organization, trying to bring eyeballs, if you will, to what we do and what you do. Absolutely. How much of it is about eyeballs?
Eyeballs are as important in the media. For what we do, it's the right eyeballs. Our concern is people always ask me what we cover, and I always answer it, it's not what we cover, but who we cover for. So we're trying to produce information that is going to be relevant to the movers and shakers and decision makers in the state. And when I say that, it doesn't necessarily mean the governor and the key leaders who read us, and we appreciate that. It's at all levels. CEOs of companies, it can be 3,000 employees, it can be 3 employees. So it's the people who are making decisions to make the economy run. That's who we're appealing to.
By the way, by way of background, Tom spent about 20 years in sports broadcasting, move over to business, if you will, journalism, sports journalism, if you will, I'm sorry. And we're doing the show after the University of Virginia won the national championship. You graduated from?
I did, University of Virginia.
Yeah, Rutgers, we're doing great. So, so this is ROI, by the way. This happens to be this story on minimum wage by Anjali Kimlani, who was with us recently on State of Affairs. Check out that segment. She's really good. You have a massive staff, do you not?
Yeah, there's about 9 of us, T to green, everything we do, sales, journalists, editors, inside, outside, that's what we do.
And the publication started a couple of years ago.
About 18 months, right. September of 2017 was our launch.
Before we got on the air, we talked about niche media, niche journalism. We're niche. Some people say, how many people, what are your ratings? And in public broadcasting, yeah, it matters. But I often tell our people, it's who's watching,
100%.
why they watch, and what impact we have. I don't want to say that ours is yours, but is it?
To some extent, listen, all media, all content, everything is niche publishing these days because people have so many choices, whether it's TV, radio, online, social, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. So really, you're appealing to a certain niche audience for what you perform. The people who are trying to appeal to everyone are the ones that are falling by the wayside. The ones that have found a niche are the ones that are exceeding far beyond what people think people are exceeding at.
How are you doing the economics of this?
As far as our paper?
Yeah.
We're doing pretty well. I mean, we're 18 months out, 19 months out. I'd like to say that we're breaking even, doing a little better. We're rolling. Our numbers in every facet are going up every month as far as readership, as far as advertising, as far as support, as far as branding. So we see us on a steadily climbing plane. We're happy where we are.
Let's talk about the business community. A big part of your audience is the business community. The relationship between the business community and Governor Murphy's administration, particularly around policies that he is putting forth that impact the business community. Talk about it.
Everybody likes the governor personally.
Absolutely.
Everyone is happy to talk to him. Everyone is pleased to see him. His policies from the business community are not necessarily well received.
Such as?
Well, such as everything he wants to do is going to be another tax. The business community feels like it's the same old story, that they're creating the jobs, that they're building the economy, and everything they do is they're constantly getting hit with this regulation, this tax. The business community laughs. You know, the governor doesn't mind taxing people, but when they lower the SALT deduction in the federal government, then he's upset about it. When they have congestion pricing, you know, you pay a little bit more to live in, yeah. So he'll say you pay a little bit more to live in New Jersey, and that's his justification for taxes. When New York wants to tax people in New Jersey, whoa, wait a minute, that's a problem. So the business community, listen, this is no different than any business community in any state and any municipality. They don't want to be taxed. They feel like they're driving the economy. It's always a give and take between the two sides.
You know, Tom, we had a leader of a very progressive think tank, public policy perspective. Help me, Jackie, on that. Brandon McKoy, just on earlier today, we were taping. And I raised the issue of the millionaire's tax. And he said, look, it's a myth. Anecdotally, there are people who leave the state if, in fact, you tax people who are millionaires above every dollar, if you will, every dollar above $1 million, which is what the tax is, not at the beginning. It's everything over $1 million. He said, but the research, the stats don't back it up. We are not losing wealthier New Jerseyans if, in fact, you're shaking your head, if the income tax for millionaires is raised. You say?
Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Anyone can quote that. And listen, I don't have the research. I respect what they do. They do a lot of research. From what we hear on the ground, people want to leave. People want to go. When you get to be older and you've established a business, people are spending more time in Florida. They're spending more time in Pennsylvania. People are moving out. There's no doubt about it. This isn't the United Van Line survey. That's a reach of what they're really applying to. But when we talk to business leaders and we talk to the wealthier people, why would you want to be there? And I think the best anecdote is, why is North Carolina doing so well? Why is Tennessee doing so well? Why is Texas doing so well? Why are companies moving there? Why are people moving there? To pretend like people like taxes is foolish.
Okay, so someone says, come on, they have nicer weather. You say?
I say people don't want to pay taxes.
Okay, but we want better schools. We want universal pre-K. We want to do what the federal government may not be doing if they do away with the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and so Governor Murphy wants to protect us there. We want to have the minimum wage. People say they want those things, plus they want more state aid to their school districts,
right.
But we don't want to increase taxes. Is there a disconnect?
Sure. Listen, it's real easy to say we should tax the really rich people because there aren't a lot of really rich people, and everybody wants that. But when you understand what's going on in the economy and you see the different sides, the recent gravel with the EDA and the incentives that they came out, which we've talked about.
The Economic Development Authority.
Yeah, it's easy to quote that.
Do you think they've been helpful to spur investment, particularly in urban communities, Camden, Newark, Jersey City, other places?
Have you been to Camden, Newark, Jersey City, other places recently?
They're looking better.
They're looking unbelievably better. Would anyone have set foot in Camden without the EDA incentives? No way. Would Jersey City have grown up like that way? No way. Do things need to be changed and modified as they go along? Like any policy, absolutely. But to pretend like these things weren't helpful is crazy. They were incredibly helpful.
Before I let you out of here, Governor Christie, Governor Murphy, the difference between A, how they deal with the media, B, how they deal with the business community. Minute left. Loaded question, I know.
Murphy is a lot smoother with the media to some extent. Christie has been a lot smoother as far as getting things done.
Easier to cover one versus another?
Same.
You love what you do.
Love what I do.
So, folks, the publication is ROI-NJ. By the way, ROI stands for?
Return on information.
It's not investment.
It's not investment. We're giving you the information you need to make your business better.
And information is?
Information is anything about business and politics and government, the decision leaders for companies that will help them make money. That's
Tom, I
our
was
goal.
going for information is power, but that's a nice way. Tom Bergeron, who is the editor and chief content officer, ROI-NJ. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank
I'm
you.
Steve Adubato. This is State of Affairs. We're coming to you from the NJ TV studio in Newark. Let's continue the conversation. Follow me on Twitter at Steve Adubato. I promise you, see you next week.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Northward Center, Guarini Institute for Government and Leadership at St. Peter's University, New Jersey Sharing Network, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Resources, the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, Office of the Attorney General, and by St. Joseph's Health.
Autism is one of the fastest-growing developmental disorders in the U.S. Here in New Jersey, 1 in every 41 children is diagnosed with autism. And when a child is diagnosed with autism, every member of the family is affected. While there currently is no cure for autism, early detection and intervention can offer critical improvements for the child and tremendous benefits for the family. To learn more about autism, contact the Binder Autism Center at St. Joseph's Children's Hospital.